Good morning, my name's Wayne. I'm one of the ministers at Caution Baptist Church. It's great that you're with us today. And today is day 21 of our 21 days of prayer and fasting. Wow, day 21. Can you believe it? I wonder how you have found the last 3 weeks. Well done for walking together for the past 21 days, or maybe you came partway through it. That's great, that's fine, that's okay. Well done for journeying with us as well. We have our final prayer meeting tonight at 7 o'clock, and I just want to encourage as many of you as possible to come this evening as we just really experience God's presence as we push together in to Him. And it's at 7 o'clock tonight. It's the same Zoom code. It should be on the screen as I'm about to say it. It's 212-2021-121. And it would be lovely. If you haven't come to any of the prayer times, it's okay. Come tonight. It would be great to see you. And after the prayer meeting, I intend to break my fast by having a cup of tea, a packet of crisps, and a bit of chocolate, because they're the three things that I've been fasting from for 21 days. And the hardest of those has been the cup of tea, I have to tell you. And I just want to have those tonight as I break my fast after the prayer meeting. And as I do, I just want to thank God that as I've drawn closer to Him during these 21 days, He has been faithful and has drawn closer to me and has been speaking to me. And over the coming weeks, I'll be sharing some of that with you. Next Sunday, just to say, we're going to have a time, a different kind of Sunday, where we're going to hear from each other of what God has been saying and how you have found the 21 days and your experiences during the 21 days. So I just want to encourage you, if you just want to share some of that, it doesn't have to be long, don't worry. It might be a picture, it might just be a word, might be a Bible verse, might just be an experience that you feel you've had of God during these 21 days. If you want to share that, you can pre-record that on your phone and send it to us, and we can put all that together for next Sunday's service. If you're willing to take part, could you email us in the next day or so, please, at 21days@cautionbaptist.org. That's 21days@cautionbaptist.org. It'd be lovely to just hear from each other, because you've heard a lot from me about what I sense God has been saying to me and how I found the 21 days. But it'd be good that we hear from each other about what God has been saying to us. So that's going to be next Sunday. You know, there are moments in my life when it feels great to have finished something. I remember finishing my degree and postgraduate diploma when I was training for ministry, and it felt great that after 4 years, all of this stuff, all of this studying, all of these lectures, all of these exams, everything was done. I've moved quite a few times in my life, to say the least, and one of the things, moving is stressful, isn't it? And you spend weeks with boxes all around your home because you're putting boxes up, you're packing things away. But there's something about that. Now, I don't know whether actually when you move, whether you're a last minute packer, you throw everything into the box, and that makes my wife kind of get all a little bit shaky because she can't handle that. Or whether you're somebody that has it organized. And so that night before you move, it's done. Everything is done. And that's where we as a family fall into it, that the night before we move, everything is finished. Other than, that last box with the kettle and 2 mugs and whatnot to go in the morning, everything else is finished. And there's a lovely feeling. It's mixed emotions, isn't it? Because you may be sad that you're moving, but it's a lovely feeling when you look around and all those weeks, all that planning, all that work is now finished. These are the big things in life, but there are smaller, far less significant things in my life when I love it when they're finished. For example, I love going on holidays. I really do, and I've been fortunate throughout my life to be able to go abroad. Now, I don't know when that will happen again. It's when, I suppose, when Boris tells us we're allowed to and we feel it's safe to go on holidays again. But I love going on holidays, but I really don't like is packing. Oh, friends, I get so stressed about packing. It drives my wife mad, the way I get about it. But what I love is if I'm going abroad, I love it, that moment where you've checked in and you see your bags go off on that conveyor belt and they're gone. And whatever you haven't got at that point, you haven't got, it's done. You can't change it. Everything's gone, and you'll just see your bags at the other side, wherever it is that you're flying to, when they come through on the conveyor belt in that airport. And I love it because once I've done that, it's done. I've finished. To me, that's crossing the finish line of my packing, and I can sit and I can relax, and then I enjoy my holiday. Now, I know it's hard to believe when you look at me, but not that long ago, I ran a few 10k runs, and I was training for a half marathon. Here's a photo of me at the start of a 10k run I was doing in London in 2016. And I stopped because the following year I broke my toe. And even though it healed, every time I ran, it caused an awful lot of pain. It had healed in a different way. And then so it took me a while to get over that. And then we moved to Portsmouth and I got ill, and I haven't got back to that same level of energy yet. Or indeed, I haven't got back to that physique that I had, if that's a word, if that can be attributed to me. But I've put on a few lockdown pounds since that photo was taken, and I need to lose those as well. Now, I'm not a natural runner. Now, I know that's probably in this sermon, that's going to be the thing that shocks you the most. You look at this physique, you look at this body. I am an athlete, and I could almost imagine that you're stunned. Your mouth is wide open right now as you're watching or listening to the sermon when I've said to you, I'm not a natural runner. You would look at me, and runner is what would come off your lips, isn't it? But I'm not a natural runner, as my body can attest to that. But, when I was training and when I was running those races, I had to really dig deep. I had to really keep going. But there was something wonderful about crossing the finishing line and to know that my race was over. And I guess you're similar. You too love it when you cross the finish line of something, when you finish that project, when something life-changing like moving or simple as finishing the dishes after a big meal, whenever you have finished those things, I guess you're like me. You breathe a sigh of relief. There's something wonderful about that, because we all like to finish things, don't we? The fasting for these past 21 days has been wonderful, but I am looking forward to finishing it today, to finishing my fast and having my cuppa a little bit later on. And maybe for you, these 21 days it's felt like a race, and today you see the finish line. And you see, the temptation is to say, well, that 21 days was great, but now it's over. Let's get back to life before the 21 days. But as we finish this time today, I just want to say, day 21 is not a finish line. It's a launch pad, and we can't stop now. Day 21 is not a finish line, it's a launch pad, and we can't stop now. It has been great during these 21 days, but this is not the end, friends. God still wants us to keep pushing into him. He still wants us to be intentional about praying and having seasons of fasting. He wants to see that we're serious about his plans for our lives and his church. And so while today we're finishing this season of 21 days of prayer and fasting, this is certainly not the end. This is not the finish line. Not only would it be good for us as a church to have a rhythm where we have 21 days of prayer and fasting at the beginning of each year, but for this 21 days in 2021, we want to keep the momentum going and see that what has happened over the past 3 weeks, to see that as the warm-up, if you like, for the rest of our year. Maybe for you, this 21 days has given you a spiritual reset, and in turn has given you a boost. And I want to say that just because this particular 21 days is over, you don't have to go back. You don't have to think, well, that's it. That was great. That was wonderful. A bit like a holiday. But I now have to go back to the drudgery of my everyday life. You can move forward from today, and things don't have to be the same as they were. And in our reading that we're going to have today, we see the writer of Hebrews challenging its readers to keep going. We read from Hebrews 12 verses 1 to 4, and I'm reading from the New Living Translation. We read, "Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a huge crowd of witnesses to the life of faith." In chapter 11, go back over it. In chapter 11, it's called the Hall of Fame, the heroes of faith, if you like. And in that we get people like Abraham and Moses and Noah and Sarah, Rahab, and so on. All of these people who have done, they're ordinary men and women, but they've done extraordinary things for God. They have great faith. They've pushed into God, and they've seen God do amazing things in their walk with him, in their life. And the writer is saying, these people, these heroes of our faith, they're lying in the streets, as it were. They're cheering you and I on as we run our race for God. We read, "Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a huge crowd of witnesses to the life of faith, let us strip off every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up, and let us run with endurance the race that God has set before us." You see, this race is not a short run. It's a marathon. It's an ultra marathon. And the writer is trying to get us to see that we're not at the finish line yet. There's still a long way to go. And to run this race with passion and determination, you have to keep pushing in to Jesus. You have to have those moments where you reset and refuel, where you let go of that stuff that drags you down, where you refocus on God to make sure you're heading in the right direction. It's why the writer tells us we do this by keeping our eyes on Jesus, the champion who initiates and perfects our faith. Because of the joy awaiting him, he endured the cross, disregarding its shame. Now he is seated in the place of honor beside God's throne. Think of all the hostility he endured from sinful people. Then you won't become weary and give up. After all, you have not yet given your lives in your struggle against sin. This passage of scripture is, if you like, a manual for running with Jesus. You know, it tells you that there are things in your life that you need to let go of. You need to remove from your life because they're like heavy weights and they make running even harder than it needs to be. When we keep our eyes on Jesus, we keep going in the race that he sets before us. And we're encouraged in these verses to study how Jesus did life. He modeled a closeness to God, his Father. We watch how he ran his race, and that helps you and me to keep going. And when we find ourselves flagging, the writer encourages us to think about Jesus and what he went through for us, and all the pain, all of the suffering. Jesus faced one thing after the other for you and me because he loves us. And yet he kept going in all of those struggles. And this is something that should be like an injection of energy into our souls, into us, to keep us going. And you see, we're focusing on this passage because there's a danger that we can come to today and think, oh, that's it. I did it. 21 days, done. Let's get back to how life was. We can think that we've crossed the finish line. But the truth is we haven't. We've had a reset. We've had a refuel. Today is not the finish line, friends. It's the launch pad. If anything, today is the start of the rest of your lives. And later on today, as I hold my drink in my hands and I think, wow, I want to be thinking, what now? What happens tomorrow when we don't have a reflection that we're all doing together? What happens when the determined and intentional focus that we've had for the last 21 days ends? I tell you what happens. We keep moving forward. The passage from Hebrews has a real sense of movement within it. It's because it's talking about a race. And not only is there a sense of movement, but there's a sense of the direction that movement is going. It's going forward. You know, you don't enter a race and run backwards, do you? You know, even the World Championship backward running race, and there is such a thing, even though they're running backwards, they're still moving forwards towards a finisher line. And when you get tired and you have to dig deep, you keep going forwards. You know, look at a race, look at athletes look at something, you know, the London Marathon or whatever, when somebody 50 meters from the finish line, they fall over and they start crawling. Where do they start crawling towards? Do they start crawling backwards or they start crawling off to the side? No, they crawl forwards because that's their momentum. That's where they want to keep going. They want to cross that finish line. And in this passage from Hebrews, there's a word that's almost hidden within the text when the writer is talking about us running the race that God sets before us. And it's a word that suggests the direction of movement as well. Let's look at some of this passage again. We read, and let us run with endurance the race God sets before us. It's that word endurance. It seems a strange word when it comes to our race with God. After all, the word endurance suggests that we're in tough situations or even unpleasant situations. It's attributed to those people who take part in those ultra marathons of great distances, who suffer injuries and pain. They do the toughest race in the world, and you know, there's a race that's 1,000 miles, there's a race that's 100 miles that has to be done in, I don't know, 24 hours or whatever it is. There's all of these really tough races where people patch themselves up, they keep going, they dig deep. There's an endurance, a perseverance to them, and they keep going on. Yet it's that call to endure. It's not a call to stop. It's a call to endure, to keep moving forward always. It's that perseverance to move forward, to keep going in ways that you've never done before. And you see, this letter was written as a pastoral response to the needs of struggling people. They may have felt like giving up. It was just too hard. There was just too much opposition. There was just too much persecution. And yet the writer is saying to them, hang on in there. Dig deep. Endure. Persevere. Keep moving forward so that you can grow in your own faith and share the gospel message. And God calls us to endure in our walk with him also. There may be moments where you sense God is saying to you, what God is saying to you is just too difficult. And stepping into that seems like it would be an endurance race of its own. But for a moment, think about those men and women who take part in endurance races. What do they feel when they cross the finish line? They feel this elation. They're ecstatic. It's just a wonderful feeling, and nothing else in the world for them comes close to it. But you know, if they gave it up after day 1 or day 5 or day 10 or even day 21, they would never experience what they went on to experience. And much of what they experience, they also experience along the way. So if you gave up after day 5, you don't get to experience what you do on day 10. Are you with me, church? Can you see what I'm saying here? We need to keep enduring. We need to keep persevering. We need to keep going, because we do not know yet what God has got for us, because we have not yet crossed our finish line. The writer of the book of Hebrews is saying in this passage, don't give up. Keep pressing on. All that you've experienced so far is not the finish line, but it's the launch pad. Stay with this, because it's about to get even more amazing. And if you stop now, you're going to miss it, and you're going to miss out. Enduring in our race with Jesus means that we trust him when all seems lost in human terms. It means we draw closer to him and not away from him when the storms of life come. It means we don't only worship him when we feel like it, but we praise him because he's always God. It means we don't make his word fit our circumstances, but we make our circumstances surrender to his word. It means we give God the first fruits of everything we have and all that we are. We seek him first, not just now and then, but always. You know, it means we don't treat God like a book that we're reading, that we pick up and we read for a few days, and then we put it down and we leave it for months, and then we pick it back up, and then we put it down, and we keep going on like that. God is not like that. Our walk with God is more like binge watching on Netflix. You know, we just can't get enough of it. So we want to see that we've watched the first We've watched one episode and it's amazing. We could end there and it would be great. But no, we want to watch the next episode and the next episode and the next episode, because everything is building on the one that went before. Friends, enduring with God means that we endure with him, because when we eventually get to the finish line, it will be so worth it. But friends, day 21, and I'm going to keep saying this, day 21 is not your finish line, it's your launch pad. So keep going, because God is going to launch something great. I was writing this sermon over Wednesday and Thursday. And on Wednesday night, I had a dream. Now, I believe it was a dream that God gave me. And I believe that because this was not like other dreams like I've had, I'm lining up. I'm part of the Welsh rugby team and we're lining up as the anthems are being played. We're about to play England in the Rugby Six Nations, or the final of the Rugby World Cup. It's not like that kind of dream, or a dream where for some strange reason my dog becomes a top chef and cooks us these amazing meals. This dream was very different because there was a reality and a clarity to this dream. And in this dream I was walking with someone and they asked me, how do I know that my experiences of Jesus are true and that they can last beyond today? I thought about this question for a moment and then I answered. I said, because when I read in the Bible that Jesus is telling us to seek first the kingdom of God and then everything else will be added to us, I believe that. Also, when I read that Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever, this means that if I seek God first, then he will add to my life, not just yesterday, not just today, but always, forever. I also said, if God is love, then he is love, not just yesterday, today, but forever. It says to me that God and me knowing and experiencing God is a continual thing. It always has more. And friends, I woke up on Thursday morning with this overwhelming assurance. I had to write it down. And that this complete belief that God has not just wanted to connect with us in deeper ways over the past 21 days, but for day 22 and beyond. God has not just wanted to connect with you at some time in your life in the past, but today and tomorrow and forever. You see, that verse about Jesus being the same yesterday, today and forever is in the following chapter in the book of Hebrews. It's the final chapter, chapter 13. That, we're thinking about chapter 12 today, but in chapter 13, this is where the writer says, Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever. It's how the writer wants to draw his letter to a close. You could say that the writer is saying, look, everyone, all that you know, all that you've experienced is not the end, but rather it's a launch pad into the foreverness of Jesus. And I know I've shared this kind of theme the other week, but I'm convinced that God is calling us to see that with him there is still more to come. And we must never forget this, friends. I'm convinced that there are some who are listening to the sermon and you've settled. You've got to a point in your walk with God and you stop growing. Maybe not in knowledge, but in spiritual growth, in heart and soul growth. It's as if you feel you've got to your finish line. Friends, I woke up from this dream with a deep conviction that God is saying to us that today, day 21 is not the finish line, but it's a launch pad into all what he has for us. And we ain't seen nothing yet. All that you have experienced in the past is nothing to what is to come. If God has been giving you clarity and revelation over the past 3 weeks, that doesn't end today. If you keep seeking the God of yesterday, today, and forever, he will keep bringing clearer clarity and deeper revelation and new and more experiences into your life. It's a bit like a rocket. I know I've just switched gears there, but bear with me. It's a bit like a rocket. I don't know much about rockets that go into space, but what I do know is that it takes years to get everything in place so that the launch can happen. Obviously, there's the building of the rocket, which that doesn't happen overnight. That takes many years. And then there's the training of the astronauts, not to mention all the many hundreds of other people that they have in place. So by the time the day of the launch arrives, they've been journeying with this for many years. They have seen so many amazing things. They've learned so much about rockets. They've all stood around crunching numbers as to how they can get this thing into space. The astronauts have had a great time. They've done all the learning in the classroom, but then they've been in the simulators, and they've had the anti-gravity simulators where they feel like they're floating, and all of this kind of stuff, and all of what it takes to enable them to be an astronaut. And all of that has been amazing. It's taken years. It's been great. It's been deep. It's been meaningful. It's been great fun. It's not wasted. It's been important. They've gone on such a journey, but they're not at the finish line yet. All of the work in the previous years is not the finish line, but all of that work allows them to come to today, to their launch pad. And that's when the real fun begins. You may have really pushed into Jesus during these last 21 days, and you may feel closer to him now than you did on the 31st of January. Well, friends, keep going. You haven't got to the end of your race yet. You're not at the finish line, and there's still more to come and more to experience. Maybe over the last 21 days you felt a closeness to Jesus that you don't want to lose. So don't lose it. Maybe you've sensed God saying something new to you over the past 21 days. Maybe you've sensed God calling you to something new. Now is the time to pursue him for that. Now is the time to ask him, what is the next step for you? Now is the time to maybe start pushing some doors. Maybe you came to this 21 days and you were seeking God for some clarity and revelation over something, and you've received that. Great, praise God. But you know what? Maybe you haven't received that clarity and that revelation yet. God is not somebody who is limited to our patterns, and God may have clarity for you and revelation for you on day 21 or day 36 or day 400. You see, keep pushing into God, otherwise you'll miss what he has for you. Friends, the point is the past 21 days, I believe, has been the beginning. And now is the time to keep going. Okay, you may not keep your fast going in the same way that it has been in the last 21 days. You may decide to change your fast. You may keep elements of it, like you may not have a cup of tea one day a week, for argument's sake. Or when you look at social media on a weekend, or you may have a mini fast every week or every month, whatever it is that is right for you. You have started something now, and I believe you would do well if you kept it going. I've heard from some of you, and you've found these 21 days amazing. God has been speaking to you and comforting you, and you're seeing that there is more of him yet to come, more of him that you're yet to experience. And you get to live this out when you keep going. When you don't stop on day 21, but you push into him on day 22 and day 23 and day 100 and day 670 and on and on and on. Many of you said how you've liked the daily reflections that you've had, because we've all been doing it together, the same thing together, and listening to the same worship music. Well, that doesn't have to stop. You know, speak to a few friends and say, shall we do something together? Shall we do a plan either in print or online together? Shall we listen to this worship album and listen to a song of it, a track of it every day? You know, you can do that. You don't have to stop because these 21 days have stopped. There are lots of things you can do, and what I'm trying to get us to see is that when you wake up tomorrow on day 22, it's not finished because your race with Jesus is not finished. But if you don't seek to intentionally walk it, to run it, you will just slowly go back to the walk you had with Jesus before. How do you live a life where you keep experiencing Jesus? How do you live a life where the past 21 days don't just get confined to history? You keep seeking God first. You can testify, can't you, that God has been there for you in the past and even today. But to experience him forever, you have to continually push in to him. You have to continue, open yourself up to him and allow God to keep surprising you and showing up and showing you something more to who he is and how much he loves you. Friends, you are so precious to God. He has so much for you. You know, over the last 21 days, we've been thinking about returning to our focus, returning our focus to Jesus, returning to God's work in us, and returning to our mission together. And I believe God has wanted to say to all of us on day 21 that he has more for us. And the great thing is that he wants it to continue far beyond these 21 days. So keep going, because today, friends, is launch day. Throughout these 21 days, what I've loved is that as a church, we've done this together. We may not have met in person, but we've met online, and we've all done the same thing together. And in the Christian world, there's a lot of talk about what the church is going to look like once this pandemic is over and we are all back in person. There's a lot of talk about how the church needs to change and how God is using this time to get us ready for the next season. Some of you have spoken to me over the last 21 days and even said that you need to change your view of what the church is. And some of you can see that God is already doing that. I think it has been very timely that we've had this 21 days of prayer and fasting now. And it feels like God is about to show us something new. And this speaks into today, where we think that this is not the finish line, this is not the end, but it's the launch pad. You know, this year as a church, we're 150 years old. I know, you're looking very good for being 150. CBC was started in 1871, and it's gone through many changes in her history, and throughout every change, it has been for God's glory, so that his name will be known in the community. Let's keep going, because God is launching something. And the past 21 days and even the past 150 years has just been preparation as we push deeper into God. So friends, today, let's keep going on day 22 and beyond. Let's pray together. Father, thank you. Thank you for giving us these last 21 days, for inviting us to journey with you, to journey with each other with you. And Father, I just pray. I thank you, Father, for those that have sensed something deeper and closer of you. For those that have got clarity and revelation, I thank you for that. For those that have had words and pictures and just really sensed your spirit, I just want to praise you for that this morning. But Father, I'm just aware that there are others that haven't yet. And it's not because they're not as good as those that have. It's just because you haven't told them yet. You haven't shown them yet. But Father, you are drawing close to them. And give them that sense that you are there, even if they don't have that complete clarity, that complete revelation of something. So Father, may we all just keep pushing into you, because today is not the end, it's the launch pad, and you've got so much more for us. Father, may we be people that say, I want to experience more of Jesus. I want to go wherever it is that you call me, because I know that is the best for me, and that's going to be great. May we just walk in your ways, not just yesterday, not just today, but tomorrow and always.